third eye become one and have balance. The sun is a huge part in all of that when you really understand. So the sun is basically the God over us, over the physical. Plain and simple. We have this God that reigns over the physical world, over us being in this materialistic realm. It is not the God of all. That would be consciousness itself. Consciousness would be the God of all. Plain and simple, because you have to look at the sun as us. The sun has a dualistic nature. The sun is material and energy, of course, like us. You have the sun being 75% hydrogen and 25% helium, and you have a small composition of various metals that makes up basically the mass of the sun. Small when you compare it, but compared to the earth, it's huge. So you have all these metals, material. You have the energy of the sun, the spiritual, what have you. So we are basically, you can put God in the material, which is why they anthropomorphize, or how they deify him and make him beings like Ra, what have you, because they looked at him as just like us, having a composition of energy and material. So this is why you can make, God as a man, the sun as a man, or what have you, or God as Jesus, or so on and so forth, why they put him in that aspect as a being, because just like the sun, we are energy and material. So when we die, we have rebirth. When you understand the process, as I talk about, when we pass as this material, spiritual being, there is a going away of the material. And if you are not, completely one, balanced, you come back. You have rebirth into this physical realm. Now, when the sun goes supernova, the process starts over again. The sun recreates itself. This is the whole, metaphor with the phoenix rising from the ashes, what have you. You have a supernova and you have the sun basically reform itself. If the reaction from the supernova is unique, if it's done in a correct way, it can form planets, as I talked about. So this is something that, you have processes. And don't get me wrong, when you look at a supernova, when you look at suns itself, not all suns go through that process. There's so many things that have to take place with the sun. You can have a sun basically use all its nuclear fuel and to basically become a collapsed star, what have you. And you have dwarf stars, and you have suns that basically, burn out, you might as well say. And, you have suns that expand into giant stars, as they call them, gas giants, or red giants. And they become huge and they compress and they compact and come back out, and eventually, they explode. So it's a lot. It's a process of life and death with the sun, just like it is with us, except for, the sun lives longer than we do. If you look at it in that sense of, being in one form for a long period of time, where we change forms many different times from incarnation to incarnation, if you are a being that keeps coming back here. So it's a lot to look at on a spiritual level, that you have to really go back and look at the ancients and how they talked about it to appreciate it. It's something that you can't really fathom today because it's not really clearly understood, but it's going to make a lot more sense in this video. So as I talked about before, we know we have consciousness creating energy. Consciousness being this all-knowing, powerful thing that we really don't truly understand when you think about it. But as we know, you have a thought occurs first, as I talk about, then energy. That energy allows the physical to move. Basically the same process as the sun basically being absorbed by the chlorophyll in the plants, and that energy is converted into food for the plant to be able to survive and move. We eat it, we're able to move, so on and so forth. So you have, stemming from consciousness, energy, movement, life itself. Now, the sun is responsible for all life on this planet, plain and simple. And the thing is this, our true self outside of this planet would be what? Consciousness and energy. With energy, coming from consciousness, as we know. So it will be we will be this conscious, energetic being. And you have to really understand that and think about that. Consciousness, and consciousness being an intelligence when you really get into it, which is why they use these words. And it's going to make sense in a second. So once consciousness and energy enters the body, it becomes subservient to the physical, plain and simple. It comes basically under the physical, because now this is the physical world that it's dealing with. Understanding that energy and consciousness is stronger than the physical, of course, because it's what's created, but it is basically bound by the material, by the body. And this is why. The thing is, you have the brain. The brain can be programmed, plain and simple. So the brain can be programmed in such a way that causes the consciousness to be out of the control of the subconscious and subservient, serving the programming instead of serving the subconscious. So in other words, if you brainwash somebody or program a person to go do something, I heard about the Manchurian Candidate and everything like that. You can program a person to, despite their free will and conscious thoughts or the powerful subconscious, the programming takes over and a person goes and acts out the programming without the intervening of the subconscious, which is supposed to be the rational part. So programming is crazy. So you have that physical programming that can take place that can basically control, the entire body. So the brain is a computer. It can be programmed, plain and simple. And this is how we understand, how we know that human life is different. It's special from all other life on this planet. And the main reason is because of our consciousness. But we can be programmed. And everything has been programmed, when you really understand, to seemingly do something on this planet specific to its species or what have you, vis-a-vis the way we act on this planet. Plain and simple. If you look at every other life on this planet, they have a role. It's a role, a symbiotic role when you really pay attention, that they all go about. We know about ants and how they build the mounds and everything that they do. We know about lions and how they run in prides and everything. Wildebeest and buffalo, how they act. Bees in a beehive. Everybody seems to have this programmed role that they do and how they exist on this planet. Plain and simple. But you have us who can be programmed to do something different each and every time, to act outside of the normal role of us. Now, if you take the consciousness of the other beings, it seems as if they're stuck in a paradigm of their actions. Basically, monkeys are monkeys. That's what they do. That's what they do. They monkeys. They do what monkeys do. You take the consciousness, or just take the understanding. If you ever drove the country, you ever took a long ride, through any farms or what have you, you going to hit a shit ton of bugs. You have bugs stuck to your car window, all over your car. And it's like, why don't the bugs understand or have the consciousness to understand to get out the way? The bugs think they can fly through the car. They see it's a glass. They can look through the car right out the back window. And yet they drive straight into the window. At night, they're attracted to the light. That's one thing. But during the daytime, this happens as well. And it's like, you would think by now, decades, hundreds of years, however long cars been out, that they would have figured this shit out by now. Like, yo, why are you driving, flying straight down the road? You're going to get smacked by a car. But no, they haven't. This is part of the cycle. You would think their psyche would adapt to the process and understand to fly over the cars or fly at a certain height or to avoid the cars altogether. But they don't. It's the same thing when you look at buffalo. If you look at a lot of these nature videos when the buffaloes are attacked and killed by lions, it's like, dude, why are you going there? You see the lions be right there, and they can see them. They be in their little tribes and everything, their little squad, and they look over and they be trying to eat and drink and look at the lions, and it's like, they're coming. Why come there? Why not come up with a different plan? It's because they don't have that psyche, that consciousness, the way humans do. And this is why, we're higher and above all the animals or what have you, because of consciousness, not because of physical, attributes, because, you can't beat a lion, but you can outsmart one. And the thing is, they can't. They cannot do it. They cannot change. Now, this is how we are different and how we know the program is special and our consciousness is unique on this earth. Because basically, if we wanted to, and I don't know nobody that's going to want to do this, but some people have, we could live like any other surface animal on this planet if we wanted to. If we wanted to go live out with the monkeys and the gorillas out in the forest, act like them, eat what they eat, do what they do, we can go do that. We want to go chill with a pride, stay with some lions, eat like they eat raw meat, hunt like they hunt. We can do that. But they can't do what we do. They can't have consciousness like we have. They can't come together and say, you know what, I'm going to open a water ice stand down on 101st. I'm going to, open a corporate office and go to law school or something like that. They can't do that. They can't have the consciousness that we have. We can do what we want. Our consciousness is different. So the point of this is to get you into the understanding of how unique we are. I don't want nobody to go back and think the sun is responsible and, it's the main power and God of all. I don't want you to come away with that understanding. It's for you to understand consciousness is the true God. Consciousness is everything. It's over the sun. Consciousness put the sun here. So understanding in that aspect of we all have to basically need the sun to exist. But more than that, consciousness is over that physical energy that we get from the sun itself, that physical, that power we get. There's still consciousness which created the power in the first place. So there's something more unique to it, consciousness, than, the energy in the sun. But as we look in this physical world, we know we are basically regulated and basically need the sun for all of us to exist and stay here on this planet. So now, what if our energy was just as powerful as the sun? What if consciousness created the sun to be sort of a battery for our energy as we exist on this physical level? And that meditation is a way for us to tap into that energy and recharge ourselves. Now, we understand all the recharging capabilities that the yogis and the Buddhists talk about with meditation, that when you meditate, you're basically mimicking the dream world, where, as we know, when you go to sleep, it's when your body recharges and heals itself. And that if you meditate, and once you master meditation, in meditation, you can recharge your body and heal yourself just as you would when you go to sleep. And this is a fact that we all know. You go to bed super tired, feel like you have no energy left. You wake up fully energized. You don't plug yourself into a wall, as I talk about. This is a process that takes place normally. You have this energy that basically, rejuvenates you and makes you ready to go. So you have to look at that process and think about it. As we know, we're getting this energy from the sun, and that we also have this energy within us. So this is the thing. And a lot of people are not going to be able to grasp it until I really break it down and explain, as I'm about to. You have heart energy. I talked about this before. But I don't think people understand how deep this goes and the connection that it has. Your heart, our hearts, is connected with the sun itself. Our hearts have electromagnetic field, just like the sun has an electromagnetic field. The earth has an electromagnetic field. There is a relationship between the three. There is a connection that we have to understand exists. So we have been talking about we are gods. Talked about this many times. The ancient Egyptians. Everybody who is conscious understands that we are gods. God is in us. Talked about how when you spell sun backwards, it's in us, a sun in us. So if we are God and the sun is God, then we have to have a sun as well. And we do have a sun within us. It's our heart. Plain and simple. Make a lot of sense in a second. We have a sun in us. It's our heart. Our heart is directly connected to the sun. So now the two most important organs in the body, we know, the brain, the heart. Plain and simple. So now we have seen how the brain is a computer, as I just talked about. The brain is a computer that can be programmed. It's a computer. What about the heart? When you look at it on the terms of computers. Now we know that without the brain, they would have never came up with the idea or really understood how to make a computer. It's modeled after the human brain. But you have to look at the heart. Plain and simple, and understand the connection. So you have to understand, one, that if it wasn't for the heart and the connection that it has with the sun, they would have never came up with the idea of Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. Because it's basically how our connections sort of work with the sun. Our hearts, of course, have a wireless connection with the sun. Now, if you've seen the videos on energy and frequency, this is going to make a lot more sense to you. You're going to understand, because we're going to get into the number 9 a lot. You're going to understand about how much it plays a significant role in everything, as we talked about in those videos. So now it says here, the human heart rate of 4,320 beats, that gives you 9 when you add them up. 3 and 2 is 5 plus 4 is 9. Beats per hour cannot fully be explained by the sinking sun because sound waves don't propagate through the vacuum of space. However, a paper recently published in the Journal of Science describes a new technique for determining when sunspots will form a day or two before they appear on the sun's surface. Stantis Alandis, doctoral student at Stanford's physics department and lead author of the paper, said, when sunspots bubble up from inside the sun, they disrupt sound waves that are produced by shifting plasma, a form of superheated gas at the sun's surface. Sunspots are associated with solar flare explosions of charged particles called coronal mass ejections. We heard about this before. The sun's solar flare cycles run from high to low over an 11-year period. We got the numbers we talk about, 9 and 11. If we speed up this cycle to 11 cycles per second, we find that one of the harmonics of 11 is 4-3-2. The musical connection between the sunspot cycle and the rhythm of the heart indicates that while the sun's song may not be acoustically influencing the solar system, it does translate to a rhythm of coronal mass ejection that affects Earth and other planets. For example, researchers have noticed a correlation between sunspot activity and planetary alignments of Saturn and Jupiter. Solar maximum, the peak of the sunspot cycle, is correlated with the conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter, and the solar minimums, which are the low points of the sunspot cycle, when the planets are in opposition. The question is whether the orbits of the two planets are keeping time to the song of the sun, or do their orbits affect the cycles of the sun and its interior harmonies, as some researchers suggest. It's going to make sense in a second. If the sun is the conductor of the solar system orchestra, we would expect Earth to also be in tune with the sun's song. Scientists, particularly those who study earthquakes, once thought that the Earth's long period acoustic waves or free oscillations occurred as the result of large earthquakes. However, it is now known that the Earth freely oscillates even in seismically inactive periods. The Earth's background free oscillations are known as Earth's hum. The source of the free oscillations of Earth has been a long-standing mystery. Researchers have speculated that the Earth's hum is a result of ocean waves colliding with the seafloor. Russian researchers discovered that global seismic activity, which undergoes a modulation period of 54 minutes, 5 and 4, 9, may in fact be induced by the Earth's free oscillations. A frequency modulation of every 54 minutes is once every 3,240 seconds. That'll give you 9, or 308.66 cycles per second. That'll give you 9 as well, and is harmonically related to 432 cycles per second. The harmonic connection of 432 cycles per second from the sun's song suggests that the Earth's hum is most likely coming from atmospheric disturbances caused by the sun. Satellite observations have revealed a rhythmic expansion and contraction of Earth's atmosphere on a 9-day cycle. NASA and University of Colorado Boulder scientists said this 9-day sun-induced breathing cycles of Earth's atmosphere corresponds to changes in the sun's magnetic fields as it completes rotations once every 27 days. 2 and 7 give you 9. 27 is harmonically related to 432. Sunspots, when directing plasma away from the sun as solar flares and towards Earth, heat up the upper atmosphere, causing the outer atmosphere to expand and contract. These findings emphasize how solar activity impacts Earth rhythmically. The beat of once per every 9 days is harmonically in sync with 432 and the heart. Your heart, people. Remember, we started this whole thing off talking about the human heart rate of 432, 4,320 beats per hour. When we look at the harmonic chart above, figure 1, we find that the 6th harmonic is 864, which give you 9, which, 6 to 4 is 10, 8, 18, 1 and 8, 9. By coincidence, the diameter of the sun is 864,000 miles. The reason the sun's diameter is related to 864 is because the definition of the mile is 5,280 feet. When you keep breaking that down by multiplication, you'll end up with 144, which 144 give you 9. The number 528, when treated as a musical note, contains the harmonic of 7,920, which 9 and 2 will give you 11 plus 7, 18. 1 and 8 gives you 9, which happens to be the diameter of Earth. The other numbers we have examined, 954, which 5 and 4 give you 9, 72, which that'll give you 9 as well, and 144 also share the harmonic of 7,920, the frequency of the 528, which when you start multiplying 5 and 8, 52 times 8, until you get to 144 again, you'll get 9. And terahertz, or trillions of cycles per second, is related to the color green. As we just got finished talking about, green is the result of the sun's photosynthesis in plants, which helps explain why alchemical symbols for transformation and personal growth often contains the color green. The song of the sun appears to be connected to the music of the spheres after all. What was once believed to be a silly idea from a distant and naive civilization is turning out to be the fundamental vibration of the universe. Quantum physics, and it's cool they said this, quantum physics is catching up with the knowledge of our ancestors, with their suggestion that all matter is in some way connected to a greater field of interconnected consciousness. I like to think of it as heart consciousness keeping time to the cosmic song. So now trust me, this is not something new that they just figured out.